Hi out there, this is Cynthia Howard and welcome to my show FreedomCast. Today is Monday, April 22nd, 2019, and I hope you're having a good Monday out there, and welcome to my show. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, there is a war on Christianity? Well, there certainly is, because there are at least 2 churches in France alone that are being either desecrated, burned, or bombed. And not only are the churches under attack in France, there are arson attempts on other items in the church. Altars are being desecrated. Crucifixes are being broken. Statues are being mocked or beheaded as a sign of Islam. And the churches are being set aflame. Sometimes fecal matter is smeared on the outside of the church, or dirt or soil to make the church look dirty, as if it's a trademark for the radical Islamic religion that we have been here. So watch out. Vandals are desecrating and smashing crosses all over Europe, and they mangle the arms of a crucified Christ, and then they set the altar cloth on fire in Lavaur, France. That was recently done. And you know why it's happening in France as well as in Germany and Italy? Because mainly France and Germany have the largest Muslim migrant population. They have the open border policies by their politicians, which allows this to happen. They continue to come in, they continue to coerce, they continue to promote their religion, and more people join their religion, and they have one goal in mind, and that is to destroy anything that pertains to religion and Christianity, specifically Christianity and God and the Holy Family and the temple, which would be the church. France has so many problems over there because of the influx of Muslims. People are fearful, and yet they can't stop it because the politicians allow it. Now, also in Germany, as I stated, there's more than 1 million Muslims residing in parts of Germany. And as a result, there were 50 Christian statues that were beheaded and crucifixes that were broken, following the arrival of another 1 million Muslim migrants to another town called Dulam. A local newspaper said not a day goes by without attacks on some type of Christian statues. So the people have to put up with this because the European Union allows the open border policy. Now, there isn't much difference in the radical Islamic religion of centuries ago, thousands of years ago, as it is today. They believe in destruction and death and conquering, and that's what we fought against thousands of years ago. The only reason now that it's being allowed to happen is because of the open borders in the European Union. So back in 1147 in Portugal, feces were smeared on crosses throughout Europe, and in Jerusalem they urinated on crosses, leaving, again, their trademark, saying, if you don't allow us here, we will do something worse. And yet the people fought back, and that's what the people need to do now, or replace their politicians to change the policies, because it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. There was a leader of the Arab conquest. His name was Anastasius Sinai, and between the years 630 to 701. And he said that these individuals that believe in radical Islam were worse than demons, because demons fear Christ. But these individuals trample all that's under their feet. They mock it, they set fire to it, and ultimately destroy it. So there's a big difference there. Everyone downplays it, whether it's the media, whether it's the officials. They all say that whoever's doing these attacks, setting these churches on fire, they have a mental problem. It's mentally related. It has nothing to do with the religion. So that's like a smokescreen. We don't want to be pointed at that we are condoning these attacks, but we also at the same time don't want to have people look at us and say that we are racist. We don't want to be considered racist by a certain group of people like Muslims or Islam, a certain religion. No, we want more. by allowing this to happen, we certainly want more. But they're using mental illness on these individuals as a smokescreen. And most of the individuals that are doing it are the youth. Just like Hitler used the youth in the 1930s to promote his socialism, so too are the Islamic Muslim terrorists using the youth to accomplish much of these deeds. And so they will have less suspects in the end. Now, there have been attacks in churches. There was a French priest while holding a service that was attacked. There was also another archbishop that was conducting a service that even saw his Muslim attacker sitting in the pews, and he called that the demon be released from this individual. I pray to God to free you. Begone, Satan. And what happened was he stabbed the archbishop in the throat right in front of the whole congregation. So they'll even kill within the church. We have seen this in our own country where these attacks such as these have taken place. But again, we don't want to be accused of being racist. But who's really being the racist? The attackers are being the racist, because all they're doing is destroying and hurting the innocent. We are pointing out that we don't want this evil and this bad in our country, but yet it's going on because of political correctness, because a certain group of people, mainly the liberal, radical Democratic Party, that wants this to exist so that they can have the voters they need for the next election. They want to appease them in every way possible, and we, who are on the other side, are supposed to look like the bad guy because we oppose it. And we oppose it for one reason, because it is evil and it's going to destroy our country if we don't stop it now. Just like it's happening in Europe. We don't want that here, because once they start coming across those borders, it's going to only escalate further and get worse and way out of hand, and we won't be able to stop it once it goes from town to town, state to state. And that's what they do. They'll start in one area of the country, and they'll consume the remaining parts of the country until they get everyone converted to the Nation of Islam, and we don't want that. Not only do they desecrate and destroy churches, but they're even destroying gravestones across Europe. They're destroying crosses, any religious symbol in a cemetery. Can you imagine that? So it's not enough to attack the churches, but let's even attack symbols that are being used in conjunction with the dead. In a cemetery, they'll hurt anything that's beautiful or anything that people really love in their hearts. And one even got to the point where he burned a nativity scene in Italy. He set it on fire, and yet the officials covered it over again and said, oh, it was a psychotic episode that he had. He has a mental illness. But no, he's a radical Muslim extremist, and that is not a disease. That is a belief to destroy anything that is good, anything that is beautiful. And there is no difference between past and present Muslims. They all want to do the same thing. Their ultimate goal is to attack, to desecrate, to destroy, and to eliminate Christianity in general. The only difference is now we have the open borders, and back then they would push back on it and say, it is not acceptable in our country, and we will fight every step of the way. And that's what we must do here. Now, we witnessed a fire in the Notre Dame Cathedral, and everyone in the media and everyone else is talking about, well, it was just a result of a renovation project. It had nothing to do with an extremist group or a religious group, but it very well could have. Is it a coincidence that over 200 churches in the same area or in France in general have been burned? So why would it be any different for Notre Dame? Only that it is more notable. It was with the onset of the Easter holiday season, so it's almost like Muslims wanted to send a message, some type of a message, that we can get away with the biggest and the most notable in Christianity. And what happened as a result of that? We saw that this past weekend, with the deaths of hundreds and hundreds of people in Sri Lanka, with the wounding of several hundred people in Sri Lanka, with the destruction of 3 churches during their Easter season. We have seen that. So it was almost like a warning sign that something worse was going to happen, and sure enough, it did this past weekend. So how much more do we need to tolerate as Christians? When do we put our foot down? When do we say, enough of these radical Muslim terrorists coming into our country, and we will not tolerate anymore? We can't tolerate anymore because their ultimate goal is to destroy everything that's Christian. So it's almost like a welcoming sign. We'll destroy all the churches, then you will have to attend our mosque, because that's all that's going to be left. There won't be any churches left if they continue on in their line of destruction. So we need to stop it by shutting down the borders, because we don't know which illegal believes in Islam. We do not know that, or has been converted to Islam. They come in packs, so these thousands of people, and in the case of Europe, it's millions. So, how do you pinpoint who is a radical Muslim or who isn't? But you have to shut your border down, and that is by building the wall the president wants to do. And the radical liberal Democratic Party does not want that, because all they care about is power and future votes. And people have to wake up to the fact that that's really what they want, and it's really what they're after. But they're targeting Christianity, and yet they call us racist. We who oppose it, we're the racists. They're the ones that are destroying property. They're the ones destroying lives. We aren't the ones. We are the ones that are pointing the finger because we don't want that to happen in our country. It happened years ago with the KKK. They targeted a certain group of people. They did burn down churches, the same thing. And we said then we wouldn't tolerate racism in any shape or form. But now, today, it's the opposite. We have to appease these groups because they are a religion. Well, what about our religion? What about Christianity? What about what we stand for, our belief in God and goodness? And yet they stand for evil, because if they weren't evil, they wouldn't be burning churches down. They wouldn't be destroying lives. They wouldn't be desecrating statues or destroying crucifixes. So they have to wake up to this fact that they who love the Islam nation, they who accept the Islam nation by allowing them in their country, whether it's in Europe or over here, are the ones that are the racist. So look in your own backyard, radical liberal Democratic Party. You are appeasing them, so you are the racist, not we who are Christians and we who are pushing back. If they weren't burning churches down, if they weren't hurting people, if they weren't destroying lives, if they weren't conquering a country, then we would feel differently. But until that changes, they are the evil that must be taken out of our country and prevented from coming into the first place, because we as a Christian nation will not tolerate it. We are one nation under God. We have been since our founding days. And to think that they are going to take it over now, it's not going to happen, and we're not going to let it happen, because we have the right leader in place, President Trump, who will fight every step of the way to put up that wall so that we will be protected as a country, and we will not allow this unhinged element of migrant caravans run rampant around our country and convert everyone over to the Nation of Islam and destroy everything that's good, everything our country stands for. And I know you know this. Thank you for listening. And I can be reached on most social media platforms. This broadcast will be played on social media as well as on Spreaker.com and Podbean.com. You can reach me on cindycool09@Yahoo, my email. My telephone number is 603-543-1372. Or you can contact me on my YouTube channel and click on subscription, or on my website. Please consider a donation on PayPal at ccltgroup.webs.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, so I'm out there spreading the word, and I hope you can leave a comment and tell me what you'd like to listen to in the future on these shows, or be a part of these shows, or what topics you want me to cover. I'd be happy to hear from you. And I'm signing off for now. And thank you. Have a pleasant day. And oh, by the way, we do need a sponsor. So if you know of any sponsors, please contact me at cindycool09@yahoo.com. And until we meet again, until I do another broadcast, hope you have a fine one out there, and thank you for listening.